I'm Dr. Katie Novak, and when you're thinking about implementation science, it's very important that you address the competency drivers, which is how you create a system where all stakeholders truly have the competence and the efficacy to meet the needs of all students. And we do this through professional development, through our induction programs, and also through really comprehensive coaching models. Because we're in the business of education. We believe that education can increase the outcomes of all learners. And that is not just for students. That is also for our teachers and our administrators. So if we believe in high quality education that meets the needs of all learners, then we have to create a really robust professional development system, which includes coaching and instructional rounds, possibly, and educator evaluation to ensure that all educators have the opportunity to be learners as well. So as you learn more about high quality professional development, it's also really important to dive back into the Massachusetts high quality professional development standards. In fact, there are 10 different standards for professional development in Massachusetts, and all of them really talk about the importance of designing learning experiences that work for all staff. And what's really important about this is it talks about the difference between professional development and training. We do not want to create systems of training. Training is really focused on discrete skills and performing individual tasks. So example, how to report your grades on a new student information system would be an example of training. And it talks about how training is brief and has a beginning and an end. Professional development, on the other hand, does not have a beginning and an end. It is ongoing, just like our teaching and learning of students. And it's ongoing and embedded often through coaching and through instructional rounds and through mentoring and through our EdEval system. So what are these 10 high-quality development standards for professional development, and how can we ensure that they're embedded within our long-term planning of an MTSS system? So the first standard for professional development is that it has very, very clear goals and objectives that are relevant to student outcomes. And those student outcomes are also aligned with state, district, school, and educator goals and priorities. So this importance of goal-directed strategic planning becomes really important because all of us want to try to build our own competency and capacity to meet district and school goals. And so this concept of really firm goals, flexible means, which is important in universally designed teaching and learning for students, is also very important for teaching and learning adults in professional development. As we dive into number 3, it really talks about that it was designed based on an analysis of data relevant to the goals, objectives, and the audience, and also that it's assessed with data to ensure that it's meeting goals and objectives. And so as we think of these two things together, it's not about just building a really robust system of database decision-making with students, but also with staff. Is we use student data to design professional development, and we use the data from professional development to design future professional development to ensure that it's relevant, authentic, meaningful, and is truly allowing all educators to move towards district goals. Now, sometimes when we measure professional development, we ask people, how did it go? How did you like it? But that is not really measuring the outcomes of professional development, as the outcome of professional development should be student data. So again, creating that culture of database decision-making in MTSS helps to also create a culture of database decision-making in professional development. As we dive into number 5 and 6, it talks about promoting collaboration among educators to encourage the sharing of ideas, and then also making sure that educators have the ability to apply that learning in their own content and context. And so when we create professional development that is very focused on district goals and objectives and increasing student outcomes, whether academically, behaviorally, and social-emotionally, it has to be ongoing, it has to be consistently measured with data, and we also have to ensure that teachers have time to collaborate to really understand what it means to them in their own subject and content area and grade, and also that they can work with each other to help generalize and maximize transfer. Because if these skills are critical for increasing the needs of all students, and we all have a shared responsibility to these students, we all need to be on the same page about what it is as educators that we need to know and be able to do. Moving on, we talk about the importance of professional development modeling really strong pedagogical practice and also using a lot of relevant resources. And so this concept of really strong professional practice is as we're learning about really important ways to engage all students in universally designed experiences that meet their needs linguistically and culturally, are we also modeling those practices within professional development so that teachers have an opportunity to both experience what it is as well as model it for their own learners. And then lastly, as we dive into the importance of professional development, it's really all about being facilitated by professionals who understand objectives and that they build upon each other to provide a long-term useful experience for educators. Now, there is so much untapped potential in our schools with our colleagues. A knowledgeable professional may be one of your teachers, one of your administrators. This is not all about bringing in outside professional development, but really embracing the distributed leadership in your own district and sharing responsibility with educators in creating their own professional development. Another really important aspect of this is, again, to make sure that the professional development is connected, that it builds on each other. The difference between training and professional development is the difference between a one and done and years of really focusing on what does it mean to create inclusive classrooms that meet the needs of students academically, behaviorally, and socially emotionally. What does it mean to universally design goals and methods and materials and assessments? What does it mean to have a culturally sustaining pedagogy? This cannot be done in a 2-hour training, but rather a long-term vision for how we're going to scale these practices to meet the needs of all students.